Awesome. Okay, so yesterday we talked about a fun business of addressing the client using friendly language. Talking about spot theory with regards to talking to those customers and stuff like that. So we're going to kind of build upon that a little bit. We're going to demonstrate active listening by nodding, making eye contact, paraphrasing what the client has said, and various other things to kind of, one, let them know we're listening, two, remind ourselves we should be listening, and help the process move along. We're going to get into a little bit more asking open-ended probing questions to kind of gather additional information, because the information we receive from them may not be entirely clear, and we want to kind of just have a better understanding as to what's going on. Also, we want to be able to explain complex concepts in clear, concise, client-friendly language. We don't want to be overly technical in our explanations, because it may go over their head, it may agitate them, various other reasons we may not want to do this. And, they may not understand it. Finally, we're going to list and demonstrate the 9 steps involved in assisting an upset client, just to kind of help out with that. So 3 key principles, client-friendly communication are: 1, active listening. If you're sitting there talking to somebody and they're looking at their phone, their body's kind of turned away from you, do you assume that they're paying attention to you?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Like, they got other things they got to do, right? It's one of the most amazing yet frustrating things I see with, young adults these days, is you'll see an entire table of them at a restaurant all on their phones. Rather than talking with each other, they're just heads down in their phones. Even funnier, sometimes they're texting each other. Don't get it? Is what it is. I guess I'm a boomer. I don't know. But when you're trying to have an open communication with somebody like this, it appears as if what you have to say is not important, that you're standoffish, and that you're not really interested in what they have to say or interested in helping them. So we have to be able to utilize body language as well as active listening skills in order to kind of let the customer know, hey, we are interested in what you have to say. We're here to help you. We are present in the moment, trying to take care of the situation. Asking questions, keeping them open-ended, not just yes or no questions. We want to hear the story. We want to kind of try to pick out details that are going to be helpful to us in diagnosing what the issues may be. And then if we need to explain something to the customer, use client-friendly language, not overly technical terms and stuff like that. Much of the time when customers come in, they'll be kind of neutral, and sometimes, relatively happy to see you. You're coming to save the day and solve the problem and all that kind of fun stuff. But there are going to be cases where clients come in very, very upset. And we're going to dive into this a little bit more. But there's basically 9 steps involved in kind of assisting an upset client. First thing is remain calm. Getting as riled up as they are generally does not help the situation. Don't take it personally. They're upset at the situation, not necessarily at you. Unfortunately, you just seem to be right in front of them at the moment, so they may lash out a little bit. We have to do our best to compartmentalize and not take it personally. Use our listening skills. Try to see if we can pick out that information that's going to be helpful to us with regards to the issue. Show that you heard the client, what they said, kind of repeating back or paraphrasing that stuff back to them so that they know you're paying attention. Express sympathy. They're probably going through a tough time. It could be a scenario where their job is on the line. And that brings a whole lot of emotional issues into the situation. If they have a very, very important presentation to give and the presentation has disappeared from their computer and they have to do this in a couple hours. This can be a very, very stressful time for them. So we have to show a little bit of sympathy for what's going on. Apologize gracefully. I know it may not necessarily be your fault. Sometimes it may be, but it may not be your fault, but it's still, I'm sorry you're having to go through this. I understand this is a terrible situation. Do your best to find the solution, and you start that solution in motion. So we may not be able to fix it right there on the spot. Sometimes we have to order parts. Sometimes what we have to do is going to take some time, but we want to set the process in motion and give them an idea as to when they're going to hear from us. We don't say, oh yeah, I'll have this fixed in a few minutes. Much like doctors don't say, oh yeah, surgery is going to go swimmingly, you'll be out, no problem, everything's going to go great. Things can happen. So we don't necessarily make promises. What we can say is like, all right, we're going to get the solution in motion. We're going to start working on solving this problem. You should expect to hear from us by this time. It could be in an hour. It could be later this afternoon. It could be tomorrow morning. Give them a time horizon of when they're going to hear from you, and you have to stick to that. Set an alarm, whatever you need to do. Remind yourself that you have to communicate with them. A lot of IT personnel will say they'll be responding to tickets and emails usually between this time and this time. So they'll set aside like an hour, hour and a half specifically for doing follow-ups on tickets, just to respond to customers and say, hey, here's where the progress is on your ticket. Here's what we're looking at. Here's the next time you're looking to hear from us. Or the parts here, it's been installed, your system is ready to pick up. So you set aside specific times for follow-up. That way they know you're not forgetting about them. Has anybody ever had an issue where they called into IT to solve something and then they say they're going to get back to you? The issue kind of fixes itself, or you figure it out. And then like a week or two later, they call you like, hey, just wanted to check back on this ticket and see if you're still having this problem. Has anybody ever had that issue? I've had it multiple times, multiple companies. It is a huge failing. So that can add to the aggravation, especially if the situation has not been resolved. What they're banking on is if they haven't heard from you again, the situation got resolved and they just want to confirm before they close the ticket out. And then finally, communicate appreciation. If it's a third party situation, they could have chosen many other companies, but they chose yours. Let them know that you appreciate that. So we'll build on this here in a little bit. So we've already learned how to address our clients. We're going to talk a little bit more about engaging in technical conversations with clients in this one. Here's a general question to the group. How much do you think your clients know about the types of technology you'll be assisting them with?
You said what's the percentage?
Not much.
How much do you, not what percentage, but how much do you think clients know about the types of technology you'll be assisting them with?
Very little.
Yeah.
Not much.
Not
Agree
much.
with Andrew on that one.
Moderately.
Very little.
30%. Very little. Some may know a lot, but may not have access. Some, but the vast majority likely don't have a whole lot of knowledge. Just because you use a tool does not mean you know how that tool was created. I may use a power drill, but I can probably not build one from scratch. Right? So just because you can use the tool does not necessarily mean you know how to fix it or how it came to be. So they may have varying levels of experience, most of it leaning towards the not much, but it is still likely that you're going to know far more than they do about that particular technology. So throughout this session, we're going to be talking about some of the best ways to kind of communicate with clients so they're able to understand information we're giving and stuff like that. Also, a lot of the clients will be relatively friendly or kind, Some clients, like we said, may be extremely upset and or challenging. If you've worked in customer service for any length of time, it's the 80-20 rule. 20% of your problems will take up 80% of your time. And that you generally, it's like 80% of your customers will be relatively easy to deal with, and you'll have 20% that are exceedingly challenging. They will take up a huge portion of your day or your time. What types of situations do you think would cause a customer to come in and be highly upset already, like before they even spoke to you? What are some things that may have
They
happened?
spoke to someone before and coming back.
Spoke to someone before. They said, hey, we'll get back to you this afternoon. That was 2 weeks ago.
Them fixing an issue, and then, or at least trying to fix an issue over and over again for about a few days, and it just not working.
Okay, so repetitive, the same issue repeating over and over again.
They can also have some personal problems going on and they take it out on you also.
Personal issues, okay. That's always a possibility. Any other ideas?
They have one problem resolved and then another problem happens.
So one issue is solved, another one pops up. That could be very frustrating. It's like, you know, I've made one step forward and 2 steps back.
I would say probably get the runaround, probably get switched to different people all the time.
I like that one, Rashawn. Of the not my problem category, like, oh, nope, that's telecoms. Nope, nope, that's security. Nope, nope. And they just keep kind of passing you from department to department. So equipment is expensive. It's another one. Any others we can think of?
I don't know if anyone said that before, but if they keep having to come back for the same issue over and over.
Common one, yeah. What if they feel they lost everything? If you're a salesperson and you lost your entire hard drive, so like all your customer contacts, phone numbers, customer details, sales information, everything gone.
So they think there's a problem, but there isn't.
Well, they may think there's a major problem, but there isn't. Yeah, there could be another reason. So there's a variety of reasons as to why somebody may come in already fired up before they even speak to us. All right, let's see here. Gavin, can you read for us, please?
When you are on the job, you'll be assisting many different clients. In this session, we are going to discuss the best ways to communicate with clients so that they are able to understand the information you are telling them. As we learn to best communicate with our clients, we will also discuss how to assist the client who is upset. We want to ensure that every client has the best possible experience.
Absolutely. So we're going to kind of build through those 9 steps. All right, who remembers the 4 steps of addressing a client?
Smile, present yourself, offer to help, and thank the client.
Here we go. Smile, present yourself, offer to help, thank the client. Spot. So always take into account, you may be communicating with customers over various mediums. It could be phone, in-person, email, direct messages, things like that. My general rule, especially when you're dealing with email or direct messages, I always tell people when they would come start working at the branch I worked at, was if it's email or text or what have you, you never, ever, 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 ever put anything in an email that you don't mind everyone else reading. Stick to that and you'll be just fine. Also, if you are dealing in direct messages and text messages, especially if you're dealing with clients, coworkers, things like that, you always document the messages. Say, you know, most DM systems have ways where you can copy it, you can save a conversation. But if they don't, you need to copy it into a document or something along those lines. So I had many instances where somebody in sales or in the admin would tell somebody to do something via direct message, and then the person would do it, and then things would blow up, and then they'd be like, oh, I never told you to do that. And so I saw people lose their jobs for doing what they were supposed to do, but all they did was not document what somebody else had advised them to do, be it a salesperson, a customer manager, or something along those lines. Because obviously if things get bad or if a lot of money is involved, the pass the buck situation starts to happen really quickly. And this is kind of a way just to kind of cover yourself. So if the situation comes up, you can basically just hand the conversation over and say, here's what I was told for this conversation. So just something to keep in mind with regards to it. I would like to say you don't have to do things like that, but unfortunately, it's not the world we live in. So rather save you guys that kind of stress. But as we're operating over various mediums, it is still important, regardless of what medium we're using, to use friendly greetings, to be cordial and operate in a professional manner. So after you greeted the clients, it will be time to kind of start discussing what the client's needs are. Like, you know, like, hi, how are you doing? Get the simple pleasantries out of the way. How's your day going? All that fun stuff. And then you're going to start working on their, you know, why they actually came in, because it's likely they didn't come in for small talk. There's probably something a little more going on. And that's where we're going to get into the three other main components of communication that we want to deal with regards to assisting the clients. That is our active listening and talking about probing questions, and then explaining concepts using some client-friendly language. We're going to start first about active listening. So I hope you have your pen and papers ready. It's time for arts and crafts. You can use the draw tool on your computer as well. Like you can pull up a notepad or something like that, and you can draw along with this if you wish, because we are definitely going to show out what we have. So what are we doing? I am going to give you a set of directions. And you're going to be drawing out these directions. You are not allowed to ask any questions. This is strictly an active listening activity. And I would say you can't look at each other's paper, but you know, you're not in the same room, so it doesn't matter.
I have another question.
What's your question?
You said we have to draw, not type out anything, but it has to be drawn.
Yes,
Like
draw.
a picture.
Draw, yes, like a picture. So you can use the draw the tool on your computer to draw, you know, like the Paint app, or you can draw it on a piece of paper. One of the two. So I'll give you a moment or two here to get that out. Get ready, because there is going to be a show and tell at the end. It's always really entertaining. Give me a thumbs up when you're ready. All right. Sharing out here. All right. So we're ready to start. Practice our active listening. No questions. Follow directions. All right. Draw a circle. Not on the screen. Oh, killing me. So draw a circle. All right, step 2. Draw a line in that circle. Step 3. Draw 2 dots in that circle. Next, draw 3 lines that come out of the circle. Next, draw another circle next to the first one, slightly overlapping.
Can you repeat that, please?
Draw another circle next to the first one, slightly overlapping. Then we're going to draw 2 lines connected to the circle.
Which circle?
No questions.
Wait, you said 2 lines connecting the
2
circle?
lines connected to the circle.
Just connected. Okay.
I'm just repeating directions. Draw 2 lines connected to the circle. That's it. I will repeat directions, but I cannot answer any questions. Now you're going to draw 2 small lines connected to the first 2 lines you have already drawn.
Can you repeat that?
I absolutely can. You're going to draw 2 small lines connected to the first 2 lines you have already drawn.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. Draw 2 small lines connected to the first 2 lines you have already drawn. Now draw another circle next to the second one, slightly overlapping.
I'm running out of space.
You went bold in the beginning. All right, now we're going to draw another circle next to the third one, slightly overlapping.
Hold on. You said after the second two lines, you said draw two more lines. Then you said draw a third circle.
Draw another circle next to the second one, slightly overlapping. That was the last direction. And then the new direction we are on is draw another circle next to the third one, slightly overlapping.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the last instruction? I'm sorry.
Yes, draw another circle next to the third one, slightly overlapping. Then we're going to draw two lines connected to the circle.
You said two lines connecting to the third circle.
It just says two lines connected to the circle. Then finally, draw two small lines connected to the first two lines you have already drawn.
Can you repeat?
Sure, draw two small lines connected to the first two lines that you have already drawn. All right. Show and tell. All right. Got some Picasso-ish drawings out there. Here we go, Jose. Interesting.
That's
How did it feel?
These were the worst instructions ever.
Worst instructions ever? Here we go, getting some entertaining ones in the chat.
The thing I
Now-
drew kind of looks like the Yeti from Ski Free.
There you go. So we all had the same set of instructions. What happened?
It was our perception of the instructions.
Right.
They weren't very detailed, but you can only do things with what you have, I guess.
Yeah. That's an apt description there, India. Artistic interpretations, as tutorial says.
Yes.
So we had to basically take a basic set of instructions and just try to make something of it, right? What about, not being able to ask questions?
Not being
Lack
able
of
That
to
makes it more
clarification.
that makes it more challenging because now you kind of have to take that your own initiative and assuming that, okay, well, maybe this will work.
Yeah. More challenging, Muniser says, frustrating. Because you want clarification, right? If I say draw a circle, I'm like, okay, how big? Where at? This is kind of the point. So we got a good variety of different drawings coming in, some terrifying, some kind of entertaining. And how similar would we say our images are? They all show the same components, right? We all have the same pieces. But our interpretations are pretty drastically different, right? So we need to take this into account when we're communicating with clients. One, if they're trying to read something out to us, we want to be able to ask pertinent questions, right? Open-ended questions, one where it's going to have to, give us better explanations. Clarify this. So when we're communicating with the client and we're giving them instructions, they need to be able to ask questions of us too, right? Be able to clarify. So when we say active listening, what are some things that come to mind? How do you know someone's paying attention to you when you talk to them?
They repeat things that you've said.
They ask questions.
They repeat
body
things you say,
language.
they ask questions. What was that, Chris?
Their body language.
How so?
They look you in the eye.
Expressions.
They look you in the eye.
They're not fifth graders.
They're not fifth graders. Like if they're standing in front of you, how would their body be? Like their body language.
like directed towards you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like straight towards you.
So if I was standing in front of you like this, I'm directly in front of you.
No.
It doesn't look good, but a lot of times when I do that, that means I'm actually listening.
Maybe more of a
Yeah, right.
little less closed off than the, so eye contact, Aaron, there we go. Anything else? Nodding, there we go.
Uh-huh.
Audio cues. I see. Interesting. You don't say. So there's various things that we can use for active listening. So which of these would be considered active listening? Would
Pay
we
attention.
pay attention? Okay, so we'd consider that to be an active listening, all right? What about taking
Take
notes?
notes.
Yep.
Would you consider that a yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Although I would let them know, like, especially if you're taking notes on your phone, just say like, I'm texting notes on my phone. So they don't think that you're texting like somebody else. You're just like, yeah, I'm using my phone to kind of, my notepad on my phone to take notes, just like, is that okay? 99% of the time, they say yes. So taking notes, interrupt the customer to ask relevant questions.
No.
But they're relevant.
Yes.
Yes, if they're relevant, yeah.
So typically, no, we don't want to interrupt the customer. We're gonna kind of let them finish their thoughts and then interrupt. If they're beginning the conversation with, so I woke up this morning, and they're going to tell you the entire journey of their day before they got to this point, then yeah, we might want to kind of step in like, okay, can we, how about, let's fast forward a little bit until the problem actually started and just tell me what happened like right before then. So should we read between the lines what the customer is saying?
We should
No.
ask them questions.
All right.
We should ask them questions. if
Ask
we
some
don't
questions.
understand.
Okay. What about making assumptions just to kind of be efficient? Like we're busy people, we got stuff to do. Did we do that?
No.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. Bad idea. Okay. What about like your besties? Like want to finish each other's sentences. Like what's coming, and you just want to kind of jump in there and just let them know like we're in sync. We're finishing each other's sentences.
Nope.
No.
Nah.
No.
All right. What about assessing the client's level of expertise with technology?
No.
Yeah, you shouldn't test your clients.
Give them a quiz when you first meet them. Like, before we have a conversation, I need you to fill out this app, please.
Brother get fired.
To a degree, we do need to assess their ability, their knowledge of technology, because that would actually adjust how our language is going to be going forward. Because if they do have a relatively decent level of technical skill, we don't want to keep using terms we would use for somebody who has never really used a computer, because they'll get the feeling that we're talking down to them. So we do have to kind of assess where their technology level is and try to talk to their level. What about assess the client's emotional state?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a super challenging one for me. I have in D&D terms, I have a 0 in emotional intelligence. So this is not a strong point for me unless they are yelling. Then I'm pretty clear at that point. How about listening for unspoken requests?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
This is a tough one because I don't know.
What would a unspoken request look like?
An unspoken
I don't
request?
think-
Like you said you wanted me to fix your motherboard, but what I heard was you wanted the best motherboard that was on the market.
See, when you said unspoken request, I was thinking, they know that they feel like they know what they're trying to say, but they're just not getting it out.
Or you asked me to set up your Wi-Fi and I went ahead and set up your encryption, your security. I disabled WPS. I did all that stuff for you because I figured that's what you would want.
Yeah, no.
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 To a degree, we call that gold plating, which is like going above and beyond a customer's request. And though that may seem like the nice thing to do, it can get you in trouble because you may be interfering with things that they didn't want you to mess with. So the general rule is do not gold plate. You do what is asked and you kind of stick to that, especially when you're dealing with simulations and test out. Don't go above and beyond, only do what's asked. What about the last one? Paraphrase. Talking is hard. Paraphrase what the client has said. Is that an active listening skill?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're showing you
because
understand it.
absolutely.
won't be-
Showing we understand it. You know, we rephrase it into our own words and say, okay, if I'm understanding you correctly, this is what you're saying. And if they say no, then we know we didn't understand it clearly and they can re-explain it to us. All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. So when we say paraphrase, give me a definition of what we mean by that. We kind of talked around it, but can somebody give me just a basic definition of what we mean by paraphrase?
Summarize.
What was that, Midget?
Mean like
Summarize?
like
Okay,
what
yeah,
the-
I got that. Okay, it took me about 10 seconds for my ear to catch up. So summing it up. Take the whole day, cram it down into a quick, simple paragraph, right? Awesome. So to paraphrase is to express the meaning of what the person has said, but using different words. But like we stated previously, it's kind of a way to achieve clarity, to kind of reword things and make sure that they know that you have an understanding of it and you are sure that you're getting the gist of what they're saying. It proves you're not just like literally just taking down the words verbatim and then just going from there. All right. We're going to do that exact same exercise one more time. But this time, you can be able to ask questions. Use your active listening. Are we ready? Flip the piece of paper over. Ready to go? I am, stop this for a quick second. Over here. Go here. All right. So, we all ready? Okay, so first, I would like you to draw a circle.
What size circle do you prefer or do you want?
I would say, I think a little bit bigger than a quarter, maybe. Like that.
Does it matter on the location of the circle?
I would say the circle needs to be closer to the left side of your page. So I'd say about middle of the page. About 1/4 of the way through the paper. Left-hand side. Any other questions? No. Next, we're
Did I
going
color
to
it?
huh?
Does color matter?
Color does not matter. I mean, I generally, you know, we're going to be outlining, so we'd stick with black just because it contrasts well with the paper. But so our next step is going to be draw a line in that circle.
Where do you want the line to go in?
So the line is going to be slightly curved, and it'll connect with the circle on the left-hand side, lower third, and it will slightly swoop up.
Do you want the other part to connect to any other part of the circle, or?
Nope, it won't connect to the back. It'll stop about 2/3 of the way through the circle.
Okay.
Are we ready? Okay, next we're going to draw 2 dots in that circle.
Where?
Just above the line.
Do the dots have to be next to each other?
Yes, so they will be right next to each other, but slightly above the curved line that we just drew.
Ellie, did you know you were sharing your drawing?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
thank you though. Are we ready? All right, next we're going to draw 2 lines that come out of the circle.
Which part?
So the first one would actually start inside the circle, just inside near the top center, and curve slightly out and to the left. And then immediately to the left, that connected to the actual line of the circle. We're going to have one come up about the same distance, curving out and to the left.
So was this what we were supposed to just listen and not asking questions?
What was that, India?
Like what we're drawing right now, the image when you're like being descriptive on how we're supposed to place the lines and the dots, is this the same image from before where we were just listening and just drawing what we wanted to, or?
Does it sound like the same directions?
Yeah,
So yeah,
kind of.
it is the same set of directions. But we're allowed to ask questions and use our active listening. All right, next we're going to draw another circle next to the first one, slightly overlapping.
Under, above, next to, and which side?
I would say next to, off to the right side of the original circle.
How big do you want that circle?
I would say just slightly smaller than the first one. We ready?
Yeah.
All right, next we're going to draw 2 lines connected to the circle.
Which circle?
Circle.
A circle or second circle?
Second circle.
And where the lines are gonna pop out of?
It will be slightly to the left and right of the bottom center of the circle, going out at angles. Next, we're going to draw two small lines connected to the first two lines that you've already drawn.
Can you show us how you like that?
So they're going to be right angles off of the first two that you had already connected. Next, we're going to draw another circle next to the second one, slightly overlapping.
Same
How big
size?
do you want that one?
Same size. Then next, we're going to draw another circle next to the third one, slightly overlapping.
Same size?
Same size. Then we're going to draw two lines connected to the circle.
Which circle in particular?
Excellent. The one we just drew. So the fourth circle.
And the directions of the lines?
Going out at slight angles just to the left and right of the bottom of the circle. And finally, draw two small lines connected to the first two lines you have already drawn.
Which lines particularly?
The last two that we just drew.
Which direction?
Right angles pointing towards the left side of the page. All right. Go and tell. What did it look like this time?
A happy little caterpillar.
Happy little caterpillar. So compare that to your first drawing. How far off were you?
Way
Pretty far off.
Pretty far off.
More sense with the asking questions.
It makes it a little bit easier to follow directions or get an understanding as to what's going on, right? Kind of a silly exercise, but gets the point across. Some did, some with the extra mile and colored it in. Now, also compare our drawings to each other. How do they look as compared to they were before?
They were very similar.
The first instruction, I thought that you, I thought you were trying to build some type of like battery or something. Because the way mine looks, like I don't know if y'all can see the first one that I did. Can you see me on my video?
No, I think you have your
The
background
first one.
off.
Oh, sorry, my background. I forgot
No
about
worries.
that. Right here. Now I'm the background.
Yeah.
But right here, like you see that one?
Yeah.
It looks like a battery.
It does. It does.
That's what I thought you were trying to.
But no, I mean, it gives us a little bit better ideas to what's going on. And then our drawings as compared to each other is much better, right?
Yeah.
So there's slight differences going through the, going through the pictures, but most of them kind of look like this one, right? So minor variations, but it's pretty much the same thing. All right. So that is our arts and crafts version for the day. So when we discussed some of the elements of active listening, that you noted that good listeners do not make assumptions or do things like completing the client's sentences. Instead of making an assumption, a good listener will ask probing questions. What, in your mind, what do you define as a probing question?
Probing questions is question you can use for breadcrumbing. You can use it later on. Like you ask them questions. Say, for example, in my field of work, say I do sales and I do field technician. And one way for me to know what type of device they have for sale or insurance, I'll ask them how many devices they have connected to their Wi-Fi and stuff like that. That's a probing question. Like usually you can use a lot of different excuses like your Wi-Fi is slow, like why is it slow? Like you ask them, those are problem questions. You can use that to tailor whatever it is you need later on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like how much studying did you do last weekend? Would that be a probing question?
Am I repeating that?
How much studying did you do last weekend? On average per day, how much time would you say you spend doing labs?
Yeah, it depends on whatever it is that I'm trying to sell, whatever it is I'm trying to, when I'm trying to come across. If it would be relevant, I will ask them that.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's another way. Another thing about probing questions, building rapport with the person. So asking that can help build rapport later on.
Absolutely. Definitely want to have a good rapport with the customer. All right. So essentially, when we're talking about probing questions, this question that relates to the clients, to what they're saying, but is trying to gather more information. Like a student coming in saying, I study all the time. Okay. I mean, how much time would you say you spend per day working in test out? How much time per day would you say you spend working in Coursera? Do you know where your book is? So this would be trying to gather more information about the issue. Keys to being a good communicator is asking good questions. And if you're able to ask the correct questions or the right questions, you can improve communication by getting better, more pertinent information, and also, like Ravensley was saying, build a better rapport. Or if you're like me, you forget to share your screen. Sharing is caring. Thank you for keeping my head in the game, Ajit. All right, so also one of the biggest reasons why I want to make sure we're asking good questions is the quality of the answers we get will be directly impacted by the quality of question we have. So to get better answers, we have to ask better questions. Or even asking questions, period. You know, bad questions sometimes are better than no questions at all. But, you know, and questions can be important. So here's one I got for you. Imagine you're standing out on the street outside of your house. A woman comes up to you and says, "Hey," says, "Help, I can't find my hotel." You can see that she's holding a tote bag with the name of a hotel on it. You could assume that you know she is staying in that hotel and give her directions, but you know that good active listening means that you don't make assumptions, excuse me. What types of questions should you ask the woman to make sure to help her the best way you can? So all she's given us so far is help, I can't find my hotel.
What's the name
Yeah,
of your
Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the name of her hotel? Okay, that'd be a start. What if it's something
ask
like
for the app
ask for the what?
address, like if she has it,
Okay,
that way you can know.
so what's the address? Or she says something like, I'm staying at the Radisson and there's like 6 of them in town.
Do you know anything nearby?
Yeah, there was a Cracker Barrel nearby.
It's a great start. You could ask when you have time to check all of them.
You have time to check all of them. What street is it on? There might be a good one.
Like your phone, if you have your location on, you could just look at the last locations that you were at, right?
Excellent. So you can say, "Excuse me, stranger lady, can I please hold your phone and look at some of your personal information?"
You trying to get to your hotel, right? You trying to get to your hotel, right? Let me see your phone.
Let me pull up the paper map.
So, okay. Anybody want to like key in on the bag that she's carrying? It's got a hotel name on it. Like, sorry.
You said you didn't want us to make assumptions, so we can't
Yeah.
assume.
But we could ask, right? We could say, "Hey, would the hotel you're staying at by chance be the one that's on your bag?"
I mean, yeah.
It's not making an assumption. It's, you know, it's just a pointed question. Like, no, I picked this up 10 years ago when I was in town last. So there we go. So yeah, we would ask a bunch of like some probing questions, see if we can get a little bit more information. What street is it on? If we have like some basic information, like what's the name of the hotel, what street is on, kind of stuff like that, we can actually look it up and be able to provide much better information to this person. So excellent. I have not had somebody use that one, India, as far as like going in and looking at previous locations. It's actually fantastic. So I have actually not had a student bring that one up before. All right. So here we go. When you're talking to the client, trying to get as much information as possible to help the person with a problem, there will be even more questions that you need to ask. So some of the questions you ask may lead to others. And then we kind of go down this journey together, and hopefully we'll come to a good conclusion on this. So imagine that a client comes in up to you and says that the computer will not turn on. Even without considering the specific problems might be, what types of questions might you want to ask at that point? Computer will not turn on.
When was the last time I came on, and what was the last thing you were doing if it shut off on you?
And what was the last thing I was doing before it shut off on me? Well, I just turned it off. Andre, or Justin, I tried restarting the computer, but it won't turn on.
Did you hear any sound?
What was that, Ravensley?
Did you hear any sounds? Or
Did you hear any sounds? I heard sirens. When was the last time it was on? Did you charge it?
Is the power in the wall?
Is the power what?
Is the power like going to the CPU or no? And connected with the
I mean, it's plugged in.
with the power. Yeah.
I see it's plugged into the wall. You smell something burning? Okay.
Better we talk to you.
Is there anything else plugged into the outlet where the PC is connected to? Hey, that might be another one. Like, is the other item getting power and not yours? Because usually it's the whole outlet's out. It's usually generally not a single plug. That does happen, but it's rare. How about is the power onto the building? It sounds like a silly question, but there's been cases where technicians have been troubleshooting for about an hour and come to find out that the power to the building is off. Has it been moved? Have you paid your electricity bill? Don't want to get that personal. Like, is power off? Oh, did you pay your bill? That generally doesn't go over well. Let's see here. Has it been moved? That's an excellent question. Has it been moved recently? Have there been any recent changes? Where exactly is your PC located? Okay. How long have you had that PC? I have had this PC proudly since 1987.
Oh no, it's time to throw it in the trash.
Time to throw it in the trash. I can't, it's too heavy. When did the problem occur? When did you notice there was a problem? When was the last time you cleaned it? That solve all the problems. Do you have pets or smoke? That can cause issues. Is this a PC or laptop? There you go. Does it need, does it need to be plugged into the wall? If it doesn't need to be in the plug wall, has it been charged? If it's not charged, try plugging it in and see if that works. If your computer won't turn on and it's unplugged, it's a laptop, maybe try putting it on its charger. All right. Is the brightness up? I don't know, it's not on. So yeah, all these things might start to lead us to, possible issues that may be coming up as to why the computer may not turn on. Another big one that wasn't mentioned was, can you please check the power cord at both the wall and the computer? Because remember, computer plugs have two sides. So as we've been doing test out, we might have learned, where you see those partial connections. Unfortunately, we don't get a partial connection icon in real life. So we have to double check at the system and at the wall to make sure both are plugged in. Do you hear any hissing noises? Yeah. Yeah, it might be on, but you can't see that it's turned on. Okay, there you go. Any lights when you press the button? Excellent. All great questions. And they will give you better answers. Are you hallucinating? Hopefully not. But a lot of these are still kind of yes or no, but some of the probing questions, which are good, like when was it moved? How long have you been experiencing this problem? You know, things along those lines. So we want to keep those open-ended questions where we can. Some of it's very yes or no. All right. Already talked about this. Some of the questions they put up is like, what happened after you rebooted? Well, it didn't turn on. What did you try to do? What have you already attempted? So these are all pretty good examples of probing questions. Probing questions typically start with your, you know, your W questions, what, when, where, why, and then finally how. Although be careful with some of these questions, don't know, what did you do? Usually not a good one. How could you let this happen? Also not a good one. Why are you calling me? Probably bad. So, but try to focus on these. So like, what are the details of what happened? When did it happen? How often? Has it happened before? Is there a pattern? Are you noticing that this happens when you do, like if this is happening repeatedly, is something typically happening before this issue occurs? What location? Some of these questions came up. So, your client doesn't necessarily going to be doing all the talking, even though you're going to be asking probing questions. Sometimes you're going to need to explain certain things to your client so that they can better understand what is happening. Sometimes you may get lucky and be able to just fix the client's problem, like the information they give you leads you directly to the issue at hand, and you're able to correct it pretty quickly. Unfortunately, though, sometimes we may have to talk them through the solution, and they're going to have to perform the actions. So sometimes we're going to have to be remotely working them through the problem. So you may have directions that are in your software, your help desk software, that will tell you, your ticketing system will tell you exactly how to fix that problem. And you may have to elaborate on that and talk them through it. You may be able to pull up a simulation of their computer and be able to kind of walk them through and explain it to them as you go. But we have to be sure to kind of use client-friendly language, less technical information, and be a little more descriptive in the things we're telling them to do. Kind of get our mindset around this. Imagine you're a medical doctor and you're doing some important complex research on rare diseases. You have a colleague, a fellow surgeon, who wants to know about your research. You would explain your research to your colleague in very technical terms. You wouldn't need to explain to them what certain things meant. They would know. They've been through the same medical school with you. They've, you know, they may be on similar projects. And you'd be able to use highly technical language and as many details as you can to help them gain a better understanding as to what your research is doing. Flip that over. Now say you're speaking to the parents of a 7-year-old child who has the disease that you're researching. And you're in a meeting with the parents and the patient, and you want to explain the research to them to see if they would be interested in the clinical trial that you're doing. How would you be explaining this to the patient and the parents? So we know how we. What was that, Savvy?
Why everyone's kind of been saying that. Use layman terms.
Layman's terms. Anything else? Nothing?
At this point, you truly shouldn't explain too much because then you're gonna scare somebody with what they don't know.
So if you get a little too overly technical, you may actually make the parent more distressed. Okay. Maybe use, go ahead, Jose.
I was just trying to keep it as minimal as possible, so you don't
Keep it as
confuse
minimal as
them.
possible, okay. Maybe use analogies to explain certain processes. You know, like if it requires a blood transfusion, like, you know, sometimes, you know, like in your car, over time, the oil in the car becomes, you know, kind of cluttered with debris and stuff like that. We have to clean that oil out. It's going to be a similar process, but we're going to be doing it with your body. We're going to be cleaning your blood out and filtering out all the bad debris like we would in a car. So you'd use kind of an analogy so that they can kind of associate it to something they may already have some knowledge of, right? So we would do this in technology as well, or IT, is use analogies to kind of explain what's going on. So they understand what the problems are and how we can fix them. I had a guy in my study group when I was coming through this program, a gentleman by the name of D, and he had an insanely amazing ability to do this. He could take extremely complex processes or ideas and break them down to very simple analogies. He was just fantastic at being able to do that. You're comparing my son to a mirror car. Hopefully not, but it's more explaining the process, but yeah. Did I steal any of their analogies? Oh, absolutely. Which is why I credit him. All right. So colleagues, use as many details as possible. When you're speaking with clients, you need to make sure you explain concept to them in a way that they will understand. So make sure that they understand that you both have overall strong communications at that point. So, you know, if you're able to explain a complex idea simply, it also means that you have a much better understanding as to what's going on with it. I believe it actually was Einstein who said, if you can't explain something simply, then you do not understand it, period. Right. Video time. Get angry with them. There you go. Actively listen, hopefully. One of the classmates I had in my cohort, a young lady by the name of Rose, always said you address the client first, then the problem. So we want to address their emotional state first and try to de-escalate a little bit before we get into the problem. I mean, if they're all fired up, screaming, can barely get a coherent sentence out, we're not going to be able to get many good details because they're going to be very agitated. They're going to be rushed. They're not going to want to stop and focus because they have, you know, they want instant gratification or their emotional state addressed. They want to know somebody actually cares, wants to solve the problem, to actually help. So 9 steps, we briefly mentioned this in the beginning. First, start with remaining calm. Don't take it personally. This is a really, really tough one. Because if somebody comes in and is belligerent and yelling at you, our back immediately goes up, like it wasn't me who caused that problem. I didn't do that. It's defensive reaction. And so this is something that can take time for you to kind of develop the skill to enact. Use listening skills, even if they are right, we might get some clues as to what's causing it. It could be just horrible traffic. It took them 3 hours to get to our office. They're coming there in person. Could be they've got to be somebody somewhere very, very soon, and they got to get this taken care of now. So active listening will kind of give us, clues as to what's going on. Show that you heard what the client has said. This is where the paraphrasing kind of comes in. Express empathy and apologize gracefully. You're not saying like, you're not admitting fault to the problem. You're just expressing empathy in a way that like, look, I am truly sorry you've had such a rough day. Work towards a solution and start that solution in motion so that they can kind of know what's going on. Sometimes you're able to fix it on the spot. Sometimes it's going to take a little more time and effort to get the solution done. But you start that solution now and you communicate, you appreciate their business, you're happy they chose to come, work with you. And here is when you can expect to hear from me next. 1 hour, 1 day, this afternoon, what have you. So here's what we know. Here's what we're working on. Here's when you should expect to hear from us. Either myself or one of my teammates. So kind of get into a little bit more detail on this. Chris, can you read the first step for us, please?
Step 1 is to remain calm. It's hard to help solve any problems if you're upset yourself. You can remain calm by taking a deep breath or giving yourself a few seconds to calm down.
There you go. Give yourself a few seconds to calm down. Has anybody ever heard of a practice that a lot of people, especially in high stress jobs, will use? If you're asked a question and it's, very aggravating to you or something like that, take 10 seconds before you respond. It gives you a chance to breathe, think of a response, and then respond. It initially seems like a large amount of time, but it's not really a lot. And your answer is going to be less emotionally reactive and probably more suited to addressing the issue. So in a heated exchange, take 10 seconds before you respond. Tamika, can you read for us step 2, please? All right. Jamal, can you read step 2 for us, please?
Step 2 is to remember not to take what happens personally. If the client says something rude to you or says something personal, please remember they're upset and you are just trying to help the client. Once your feelings are hurt, you are less likely to be able to do your job and assist the client.
Excellent. Fair point. Meklit, can you read step 3 for us, please?
You say McLean?
Yes.
Okay.
Horrible pronunciation, but yes, I did say it.
No, you're good. Step 3 is to use your listening skills. You let the client share their concern in order to both better understand their concern and to show them that you care about their problem. Also, this will help to make sure that you understand the full problem so that you don't try solutions that have already been tried.
There you go. Although this one is kind of a loaded one because they may say, yes, it's been tried. Yes, it's been tried. Yes, it's been tried. When in fact, the person may not have done it correctly, or it actually may not have been tried. So sometimes we have to go back and try things that have already been done just to verify. Andrew, can you read step 4 for us, please?
Step 4 is to show that you have heard what the client said. You can restate their concern back to them, ask them if you understand their problem correctly, or ask them questions about their concern.
There you go. So just making sure we heard them correctly and they know we've heard them correctly. And then we can elaborate upon that. All right, Iman, can you read please step 5 for us?
Step 5 is expressing sympathy. Remember, you don't want to blame anyone, but you can tell the client that you are very sorry for their situation. Issues with technology are stressful. You can tell them that it must be frustrating to be dealing with this and that you want to help them.
Excellent. Nobody loves to have problems. You know, unfortunately, in some cases, we deal with people at some of their worst times. And we want to be able to express sympathy and try to help them out as best we can. Let's see here, Majid, can you read step number 6 for us, please?
Step number 6 is apologize gracefully. This means you want to genuinely tell the client you are sorry for their frustration and you are going to do everything you can to help them.
Yep. So everything within reason I will do to try to help you out. I am sorry that you were experiencing the computer blowing up on you. Next time, do not choose AMD. So, all right. Step number 7. Get here. Fatih, can you please read for us step number 7?
Step number 7 is find a solution. This step is about taking everything the client has told you and all of your opinions, options for helping them, and try to come up with the best way to help the client so they live satisfied. Of course, you will use these troubleshooting steps for this. It will be easier to think of solutions when you are more familiar with the types of problems that your clients will be facing.
Perfect. Thank you. So within the 9-step process, there is our 6-step troubleshooting process. Acronyms within acronyms. Step number 8, Shante, please.
Yes. It says saying a solution and making it happen are different things. It's one thing to tell a client that you will order a new part to fix their computer, but you need to make sure you're taking the action steps to really make this happen.
Excellent. Thank you. So we're putting that solution in motion, like, okay, your computer needs a new part. I'm putting the order in for it now. I'm being told that delivery will be on Thursday. Right? Kurt, can you bring us home, sir?
Sure. Step 9, the last one, is communicate appreciation. This means that at the end of the conversation, you want to thank the client for their business or acknowledge the difficulties they had in solving their problem. Make sure that the client is satisfied and will be comfortable coming to you for help again in the future.
Awesome. So we want to make sure that we were able to address their issues to the best of, our abilities, and hopefully in a satisfactory manner that they are okay with, and then making sure that they're going to be comfortable coming to us in the future. Because again, what did I say? What was a kind of a badge of honor in IT help desk is when you're working for an organization, when people call in and they say, hey, McLeet helped me out awesome last time. I want to speak only to her because I know she's going to take care of me. So you've already developed that rapport, that trust. And then in the future, people are going to want to deal specifically with you. So that is what you're going to be looking for, rather than the alternative of them calling in and saying, I absolutely do not want to deal with this person ever again. Please give me anybody but. Because you get too many of those and your supervisor starts to notice pretty quick. So those are the 9 steps to assisting clients. By now, bit of a long one again, I guess. We should be able to demonstrate active listening by nodding, making eye contact, paraphrasing what the client has said. Ask open-ended questions, probing to gather additional information, and explain complex concepts in clear, concise, client-friendly language. And then if the client happens to be upset or angry, using the 9 steps involved in assisting upset clients. Are there any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, revelations? I'm not sure on that one, Shante.